markup. Sometimes the initial investment required to do this can be made back within a year or just over a year, which means the return can be between 80% or above. But the landlord can easily change his mind and take back the property at any time, which makes it slightly less stable, and as there is no secured underlying asset. But there are ways around this, and contracts can be arranged in certain ways in order to minimise the chance of this sort of thing happening. In this example, there is also no opportunity to utilise capital appreciation because you do not own the underlying asset and cannot refinance it as you desire. Many of the people I know in serviced accommodation are doing this as a short-term strategy in order to build their funds to invest in their own properties and hold their own underlying assets. So what people seem to generally aim for is to overall own the asset, ultimately making this a longer term investment where they can get cash flow and capital appreciation. A mix of the two is often a good idea, but again, it depends on your personality. Some people want a lot of money up front, others like to invest in a stable fashion, and depending on your approach, property can be a great vehicle for both. When it comes to my own portfolio, I was very lucky at the start. The property that was bought for me in Manchester was £23,000. It was next to Main Road Stadium, and we did not know they were redeveloping the area, so after 4 years it was actually worth £90,000, so that's abnormally huge capital appreciation. We just got lucky without realising the full impact of what we'd bought. Another example was of a property I bought in the West Midlands. In 2014 I bought it for £220,000, and in 2019 it got valued at £275,000, and I believe in 2021 it was valued at £300,000. So as you can see, this is significant capital appreciation because it was quite a nice property and it was very central to the city. It had great transport links, so it has everything going for it. The property was always rented out and the rental yield was always good. Conversely, property investments don't always work out ideally. I bought a property in Milton Keynes in 2016 for £260,000. In 2019 this was then valued at £280,000, so I was able to remortgage it, pulling out a decent chunk of money for further investment. However, 5 years after this it was valued at the same price as it was in 2019, so the value is still £280,000, and this is due to the economy and a number of other factors that have occurred in the property market. Even though the flat was nice and in a very nice part of Milton Keynes, the mortgage company valued it at £340,000, but the local market did not recognise this at the time. There were many properties on sale and supply was outstripping demand. Also, due to the mortgage rate hikes, the monthly mortgage had gone from £440 to £1,700 a month. I was only getting £1,000 a month in rent from it, and I have to pay building charges, which are service charges, every quarter for about £280. So this is a really dangerous example of how changes in the economy can really disrupt your investment, and things can turn from assets to liabilities very quickly. This was quite unexpected in my case, and as I held this property personally as well, I was losing money month on month, and I'm also a high rate taxpayer, which means I had to try and sell it. I then tried to sell it for 4 or 5 months. It did not get a single viewing. Even with price reductions and a good agency that monitored the area, it was not being sold. So I've had to renegotiate a new mortgage, and luckily the tenant has agreed to increase the rent by a significant amount, and I think this was the case because I had not increased his rent over years and he knew I was a fair landlord, so luckily he has agreed. In this case, capital appreciation did happen at the start, but then changes in the economy such as mortgage rate hikes and change in the budget, things like that can really detrimentally affect your investments. So these things do happen from time to time, but this is why it's always good to keep reserves of cash. You should never use all your money. Most of your money should be working in investments, but if you have reserves, then you can keep going in times like this, and luckily I was able to do this. So at the moment this property is not functioning as brilliantly as it should be, but I'm getting by. We'll see what the coming years bring. If the economy recovers and it turns into a seller's market again, I may try to sell this at some future stage. So this is an example of a property where capital appreciation did work at the start. It hasn't worked for a few years, and the cash flow is also not great on the property. But if you have other properties in your portfolio that are functioning well, they can help you weather the storm and keep you going in times of hardship. Thanks for listening. See